What? Where are you going? Where is you going? He's like, I don't want to be in any more of your crappy videos. Hey you guys, it's MJ and welcome back to Pet Adventures again. And as you can see, I have Phoenix here with me today. If you're not familiar with my channel, I do own a ball python and he is going to be joining us today for this video so that we can talk about frozen versus live feeding and some feeding tips here and there that I want to share with you guys. And before I start this video, don't forget I have a Patreon. Go on over to my Patreon and check me out over there. We got all kinds of fun content that you don't get to see on this channel and Patreon only videos. What? It's funny that he's going to the mouse and rat diet over there. That's saying something. That's typical snake for you. And also don't forget to check me out on all my social medias. I have literally all social medias on the lockdown, so go and check them out down below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click the bell so that you can get all my future uploads. And now it's time to learn about some pets. So like I said before, you guys, this is Phoenix. I'm gonna let you guys try to see him. It is nighttime, so he's a little bit more active. These guys are nocturnal. Yes, little ball pythons are very nocturnal, but I wanted to feature him today so that you guys can see my very own ball python. He is a little over 3 years now. He definitely reaches 3 feet. He's finally getting pretty girthy here and there, and he is on small rats at the moment. So there is this big controversy about what people should be feeding, live feeding versus frozen feeding, and I totally understand the controversy. It's very hard to tell what you should be feeding. Personally, I did want to start feeding frozen, not just because it was convenient for me, but also just because I personally didn't want to see a mouse get killed in front of me. It was just really weird. I have fed live before 2 snakes. I worked at an exotic pet shop, as you guys know, so we would have to feed live feedings and not frozen feedings to the snakes, so I do know what the process looked like. I used to have to feed what felt like thousands of snakes in such a short time. I used to have to feed a lot of snakes at once, live feeding, and I will say that in the process, some snakes would actually get hurt, and let me just dive into that a little bit deeper. But first of all, I do want to say I do feed frozen in case you guys were wondering. And again, I honestly, for the most part, just do that because it's convenient for me. I don't really have to watch Phoenix too much. I can come back and forth to make sure he's swallowed it down and everything. But for the most part, I don't really have to worry about a mouse or rat hurting him, and you know, there's just a lot less supervising, so it's a lot easier that way. And when you have a live mouse or rat, you do have to buy it food and then something for it to live in and bedding, and that's just extra cost that you really don't have to do. So that's some downsides with the live. You do have to take care of them, and a lot of the people, not all the people, but a lot of the people who take care of snakes don't really actually care for mice, so I definitely think it would suck for them to have to go and get all these. Where's he going? Where are you going? You're gonna jump in the tank, take a swim? Can you swim? I'm not sure in Africa if they go swimming a lot. You know, if you're not really a rodent lover of any sort, it must be pretty annoying to have to give that mouse or rat a little place to live, and then bedding, and then food, and all these things. However, I do want to say there are some small drawbacks. Nope, don't touch that, please. That's gonna hurt you. What are you doing, huh? However, there are actually some small drawbacks to also feeding frozen that I would like to mention. So basically, I want to say that having to thaw your mouse or rat out can be so annoying at times. Sometimes I just really hate it because if you don't thaw out the rat or mouse properly, sometimes when I didn't know what to do, sometimes the guts will spill out, which I know sounds disgusting, but I'm just giving you like the downside of it. Like, it's really disgusting, and usually like a thawed out rat or mouse always kind of smells bad. I mean, it is a dead animal, so that's kind of annoying, and you have to make sure that you don't like cook the rat, and you make sure it's just thawed out. So there are ways to thaw out your rats and mice a little bit different. I usually take the, why are you so determined to go back there? You're so annoying. You're so annoying. What are you doing? Look, he's gonna go right back there. Why? Why? Why are you doing this to me? Why do you hate me? So yeah, the thawing out process can be quite annoying, but basically what I like to do is I microwave at about 130. I microwave distilled water or purified water, because that's just what I use, because it's cleaner, of course. I microwave that, and then I kind of let it simmer down a little bit for about a minute, and then I put the rat or mouse, I use a rat now, but for him, but I put that already in its baggie. When you get obviously a frozen rat, it's going to be in a bag. I just put that in the water in a jar or a container, whatever you have that can be suited for you. I make sure that that has a sealed lid, and eventually that thaws out pretty well. It keeps the rodent nice and warm, so it's kind of like it's alive. If your snake sees, like, they know that it's warm, that's definitely a lot more appetizing for them, because of course they're going to be warm when they're alive. So I usually do that, and then I take it out of the water, and I really suggest blow drying it. I've tried it a couple of times, but I really suggest blow drying it, or maybe putting a towel around it or something like that, because it's going to be really wet, and then you can just feed it to him after that. Right, baby? And he eats every single time. He is fortunately a really good eater. He's gotten so big that it's hard for me to even put him in the frame these days. That's really the only downside, and it can be easier to get frozen rather than live. It's a lot harder to get live rats and mice. I know a lot of people go to their local pet stores, but you know, honestly, I know it sucks and I know it's hard, but I really don't recommend going to Petco and getting their mice or rats for your snake, because those are meant to be pets. For somebody who has owned mice and hamsters and rats as pets, I really encourage you to find a place that's breeding rats and mice for feeders. You can find them, they are around there, you just have to look. The exotic pet shop that I worked at, they actually only sold mice and rats as feeders, and they never sold them as pets. So you kind of just have to look around. I know it's so much easier to go to Petco or PetSmart and get one of their pet mice or rats, but I really encourage you not to, because those are, you know, the people who bred them, they took the time to breed them as a pet, and you know, they're just meant to be, they're meant to have an owner, and luckily a happy home. So it's just kind of for the best. Some feeding tips if your ball python or any snake really isn't eating. Ball pythons usually here are known for going off feed, is I mean, honestly, you can force feed, or what it's also known as assist feed, and it's not actually that hard. You don't really, people often think that assist feeding is forcing it down a ball python's throat. All you want to do is get it just a little bit into their mouth where it's a little bit harder for them to close it, and you want to do this process extremely slow and be extremely patient because it takes a long time. But in very, very extreme cases, you can do it and it's not that hard, but it just takes a lot of patience. But I have done assist feeding before to many ball pythons and some other snakes, but ball pythons are kind of the easiest because some other snakes can be a little bit temperamental about it. Basically, you just want to get it a tiny bit through their mouth, just a little bit, and then usually they'll finish it up after that. So that's obviously in extreme cases. You never want to assist feed unless it's a mandatory thing and your snake just isn't eating at all. But other tips is, like I said, definitely make sure that your prey that you're feeding your snake is always warm. You never want it to be cold. They definitely want it a lot less when it's like that. Sometimes you have to have patience. A lot of the times when they're younger, they won't eat too. I know Phoenix, when I first got him, he's always been kind of a good eater, but when I first got him, it was very hard for him to eat sometimes, because he was so scared, and at the same time I didn't really know what I should be feeding him. I was kind of new to it. It's a lot of patience. They will eat. It just takes time, and you have to do a lot of dangling and a lot of messing around with that. But you know, luckily you can eventually get them to eat. And like I said, the assist feeding is a mandatory thing, but it's definitely something you should learn to do in case of emergency. You don't want to be stuck in a situation where your snake just isn't eating and you don't know what to do. And you know, no vet can provide that for you. No vet can continuously assist feed your snake. You have to learn to do that, and it's not that hard. You just have to learn. So you guys are probably wondering, what is my ultimate choice, frozen or live? Well, it kind of depends on your situation for the most part. Some snakes, no matter what you do, just will not eat the frozen, even though I technically think frozen is the best thing you can do. Just in captivity, of course. Of course, when they're in the wild, things are different, but when they're in captivity, I definitely say that these guys should go unfrozen. It's a lot more convenient, and for mouse and rat lovers, it's definitely a lot easier on the heart. And it's also easier for the snake. I mean, they're not gonna get hurt in any way from the mouse or rat, and trust me, rats and mice can do serious damage to these snakes. I've seen it with my own eyes, and I've seen it in videos and pictures, so by all means go and look it up. It's not pretty, but at your own discretion, go ahead and look it up. It's not gonna be good though. It's gonna be like a horror movie for like a second. But sometimes there are those snakes that just can't do it, and in those cases you have to just do whatever fits the snake. At the end of the day, you know you got a snake, and you know that that's a possibility that might happen, so you do need to be prepared for that. What? What are you doing? Yeah, you want to say bye? You want to say bye? Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that it was very helpful. I just wanted to share a few small tips and some of the little upsides and downsides to both feeding frozen and live. And this guy is not giving me an easy time today. This video was a little tricky to make because he just is a squirming today. So please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and give this video a big thumbs up, especially if you love pets and ball pythons and snakes in general. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!